So I just wanted to highlight the fundamental problem of learning Linux is things like this. Device manager for the Linux kernel. This has no meaning. This has no meaning whatsoever. And so this is the fundamental problem with trying to learn Linux, is that guys will literally they'll borrow from things that from Windows and try to apply it to Linux where it has no application, right? Because there is no device manager in the Linux kernel. You could argue that the kernel is the device manager, right? You could argue that udev is the device manager, or the dev directory is the device manager, right? What is the device manager, right? Nobody knows, right? You ask 5 different guys, you get 25 different definitions, right? So what is the device manager? There is no device manager. There is no. So the device manager in Windows is a very specific piece of software that performs a very specific function, right? But when you try to apply it to Linux, it breaks down. It doesn't compute. Linux does not work like that, right? So guys will create Wikipedia articles, and this is why I tell you never trust a Wikipedia article, because 9 times out of 10 it gives terrible, confusing definitions, and they don't know what they're talking about, right? But guys will do this. Guys who don't know what they're talking about will try to apply topics that work in Windows and try to apply it in Linux, and it doesn't work, and it just creates a mess, right? So this is one of the major problems of trying to learn Linux, is that either guys will try to use concepts that work in Windows and try to apply it in Linux, and everything just breaks down and muddies the water and everybody's confused, or better yet, they'll create 11 different definitions, like for the terminal, right? Use the terminal, or do this at the terminal, right? Which terminal? There are 11 different definitions for what the terminal is, right? So either they'll try to borrow concepts from Windows and apply it to Linux where it doesn't have any practical meaning, or they'll create multiple different definitions for the same word. So it's just a nightmare trying to learn Linux, and I just wanted to use this video as a form of therapy to try and express why, because every time I try and get a clear definition of what something is or isn't, I ask 5 different guys, I get 25 different answers. So there you go. I wanted to use this as one of the greatest examples of why learning Linux is just such a nightmare sometimes.